organisation and the volunteer roles that they're looking for people for at the moment. So I don't know if we can hear you there, Carol. I think you might be on mute there.
Yeah. I actually think it would be better if I unmuted myself totally, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Technology and me, I'm afraid, are not very great friends. Anyway, good morning, and thank you to Paul and Peter for your contributions. It was very interesting to hear what other organisations are doing around the area. As I said, I'm the General Manager of SOSAD Ireland, and we've been working in Drogheda since 2007. We started in Drogheda and now have expanded to Dundalk, Navan, Kells, Cavan and Carrickmacross. So we're quite a busy organisation. We are very lucky. Our organisation is only in existence because of all of the people who volunteer for us. All of our staff, apart from the coordinators in each office, are volunteers. So the councillors are volunteers, all the admin staff, the fundraisers, everybody is volunteers. We don't get any government or state funding. So everything that we raise, you know, we have to raise enough money every year to keep all our doors open. We've been very fortunate in that people are very supportive of SOSAD Ireland, and it costs around 400,000 a year to keep all of the offices and all of the services in place. But we wouldn't be able to do that without everybody's contribution, and particularly all our volunteers. So SOSAD Ireland, for those of you who don't know, we're an organisation that was set up after our founder, Peter Maroney's son, had committed suicide in the early 2000s. And he discovered there was no support or no information available for families of people who had committed suicide. And also there was no support at that time for people who had thoughts about committing suicide or who self-harmed. So that was his idea of setting it up and calling it sort of SOSAD. It's Save Our Sons and Daughters. So it's looking at the young people and people coming up and people who need that extra bit of support to get through life. So the organisation, as I said, has grown and developed since then. And we also, our tagline, if you like, if you want to use the current phrase, is, you know, it's suicide prevention through early intervention. So we have broadened our services to include people who are suffering from depression, people who are self-harming, people who are bereaved by suicide, people who have anxieties or worries that stop them from living a normal life. We offer professional counselling services, and everybody is usually seen within about 2 weeks of asking for help. If it's an emergency, we can get somebody into a session with a counsellor within an hour or so. So we've been very lucky in that, because all of our counsellors are also volunteers, but they're all professionally trained, they're all accredited, and we do offer a facility for people to fulfill part of their training with us. So all of the roles in SOSAD that are volunteers, it's basically, it's all of the stuff, all of the work, the admin work, the financial work, you know, the support work. So I can run through each role with you, but I'm just trying to give you a sense of the organisation. I know it's very hard and it's very difficult when you think of suicide and you think of people with depression. So if we can sort of go back to our vision.
Sorry.
Okay. So what we want to achieve through with SOSAD is we want every community, this is very aspirational, I know, to develop their own sense of security through a positive mental well-being, and suicide prevention through early intervention. So we want people in every community to be able to have a very healthy mental health and to be well in themselves and to have access to the services for when things don't go right for them, so that they can get the help and the support they needed. And it's not always about medication. A lot of the time, it's just about being able to talk to somebody and being able to sort of clear away some of the clutter that's in your mind so that you can find solutions to whatever is your problem. If you want to go on to the next slide, please. So we're looking at, our mission is we want to provide support and care through life's challenges through a person-centered professional approach. That sounds, again, it's just what we want to do is to be able to provide a service that helps people through life's challenges. And if you look at the moment, we have the whole COVID scenario going on for the past 6 months and the uncertainty that goes along with that. And, you know, things like life challenges can be as simple as somebody suffering acute anxiety in the very fact that the whole environment is starting to open up again, and then they get anxious about going back out into the world. So if you've been cocooning for 3, 4, 5 months and not been interacting with people and not having that social contact, well then you're going to feel worried and scared about going back out into the world. So, you know, we can help people to overcome that and to sort of work through that anxiety. So we go from that anxiety up to people who maybe have lost jobs, are in situations that they never dreamt they would find themselves in, that they, you know, they just need somebody to help them and to guide them and to support them through this very difficult period in their life. And then we go right up to somebody who just feels that life is not worth living anymore and who doesn't want to carry on. You want to go on to the next slide, please? So our volunteers are absolutely invaluable. I cannot say this enough. They're invaluable to us. They are the people that keep the service open and keep it running. So they are the ones that literally are helping people to help themselves, to brighten up their lives, to overcome the difficulties that they're experiencing at the moment. We also acknowledge that it's very difficult for people to ask for help. There is still, even though we all talk about mental health and we're all talking about well-being, there still is that feeling out there that there is a stigma attached to it. And people have great difficulty dealing with this. You know, people are, I don't know whether they're scared, they're frightened, or they're worried that what other people will think about them if they say, look, I'm really frightened to leave my house because I'm worried about COVID, or I'm really frightened or scared or concerned or distressed. I've lost my job. I don't know what's going to happen now. I don't know how I'm going to live. How am I going to survive? What am I going to do? I mean, they're all things that we've all probably experienced in all our life, but it's very difficult for people to actually put their hand up and say, I need help here. And what we want to do is encourage that an environment where people feel free to say, I am struggling here and I need help. And, you know, without the public who donate to us, without people who run fundraisers on our behalf, we are so fortunate that so many people feel strongly enough about what we do that they will go out and raise funds on our behalf. And particularly, we have really discovered how well supported we are in this period when, as Paul had said, you know, fundraising literally fell off a cliff. You know, we closed the doors, we closed our offices on the 12th of March, and we just quite frankly, we were in a good position financially, which was unusual for us. So, but we were like, what are we going to do now? You know, how are we going to survive? How are we going to still work and provide our services? We moved everything online. We provided all our services online. We have a 24-hour helpline as well, which we continue to use. And we then reopened all our offices in July. And we're going with the motto of precaution and not restriction. So we're taking all the necessary precautions that we can possibly take to be able to continue to provide our face-to-face services. And thankfully, all of our volunteers have come back into doing the face-to-face work as well. And we can accommodate people who would like to work from home. So, you know, we're trying to make sure that we can be as inclusive and supportive of people as we possibly can. If you want to go on to the next slide, please. Actually, the following one after that. Grant. So as you can see, these are the things that I have talked about. So we provide a counselling service, we provide crisis support service, and we have the 24-hour helpline. And in one of our services in Cavan, we have a drop-in centre. So luckily the premises in Cavan is big enough that we have a separate area for people who have problems, but who don't necessarily want to go the formal route of looking for a counselling session or anything like that. So they can just drop in and chat to somebody. There's always somebody else in there. You know, people chat among themselves. It's a bit like, you know, meeting your neighbour for a chat and discovering your neighbour is having similar problems to you and working out how you can sort them out with a little bit of help from somebody else that's needed. It's also been very useful in the COVID era for people to be able to call in. Now, at the moment, it's by appointment because we're limited to the number of people we can have in the area. So, you know, but it is a place for you to call in and to get advice and information and support. Crisis support, as I said, is literally just if anybody is in crisis at that minute in time, need support, need help, we can provide it. you know, sometimes somebody's in a crisis and they come and speak to one of the counsellors, and like after maybe an hour or an hour and a half session, they're fine because they've worked out how they're going to deal with that particular crisis. Because it's just the panic sets in when you don't know what's happening or what's going on or what's on around you, and you don't know where to go for advice and information, and that can just lead to all sorts of thoughts and thinking, you know. And then we also provide ongoing counselling services for people that need a lot more support. Now, we don't necessarily deal with alcohol or drug dependency issues. We deal with depression, and I'm sure you mostly all know that alcohol, drugs and drug dependency goes along with depression. So, but the alcohol and drug dependency would be the primary addiction. So we would refer people on for help for somewhere else for that. We deal with literally the mental health stuff. So if you want to move on, I think I've sort of covered most of this. The volunteer with us is, we are always looking for volunteers, always looking for volunteers. And we are a good organisation to volunteer in. And it's not all doom and gloom. Okay, the topics that we deal with are big topics and they're big issues for people. But we want people, when they come into us, to feel comfortable, to feel that they can talk to us, and to feel that this is just a normal part of life. We're not dealing with anybody who's strange or difficult or, you know, weird or anything like that. It's just people who need a little bit of help. So, you know, by volunteering with us, you are contributing to your community and helping others. You are necessarily saying to them, come on in, we can help you. That helps in your own professional growth and development, no matter what type of work you want to go into in the future. You know, being able to deal with the public or somebody in distress is an absolutely brilliant talent to have. And then doing all of the background work, the admin, answering the phones, you know, whatever work that you, practical work that you're doing on a regular basis, look, it's all going to contribute to your well-being as well, to your health, and you know, to whatever you want to do. We have a lot of older people who volunteer with us, and you know, they bring all their skills and talents with them, and we just love that. We have younger people that volunteer who benefit from all those skills and talents. You know, it's like you learn when you come to volunteer with us. You learn the skills that you need, you learn how to deal with people, you benefit from other people's experiences, and as I said, we absolutely, you're invaluable to us. People who volunteer with us are absolutely invaluable. I couldn't even tell you how much we appreciate you all. Sorry, if you want to go into the, I think that's probably it, is it? Yeah, so we have the various different roles, and yeah, Karen will be sending you all the link. And just to remember that even though the roles are saying requirements, it was just an error in our slide. It's not, we will provide training. So the Safe Talk and the Assist training and things like that, we will provide training. But if I give you a sort of very brief overview, the admin role is basically, you're the person, the meter and the greeter. You're the record keeper. You answer the telephone. Now, it's not a crisis line or anything like that. You just answer the normal business telephone line. So, and there's always support around. We have, you know, counsellors. If you've had a difficult call and you're worried, we can get you a counsellor. We have mentors. You know, we have people will help you through. But as I said, it's not all doom and gloom. We actually are quite a nice, bright organisation who deal with it with troubled people. So the support workers, basically a support worker is the initial contact that somebody would have with a counsellor or a worker in the organisation. So you would come to meet the support worker, who will take sort of a history or some information that we need about you, so that we can give you the right help. So that it helps us to decide which counsellor is going to be best for you, what type of counselling is going to be best for the person who needs the help. So, and that's that role. And as I said, we will give all of the training required in that. But really for that role, we need people who are empathic, who are non-judgmental, who will be willing to listen to somebody's story, you know, and take the information from that without offering anything back, really. It's just an information gathering exercise, so that we can then refer them on to the help that they needed. The other role then we have are for fundraise or suicide intervention officer. This is the one where, you know, you would be talking to somebody in crisis at this stage, and you would have had the necessary training, and, you know, we would have given you the experience to do that before we let you off on your own to do it. And this is for our helpline. It's 24 hours, and we ask people to like do one night a week. So it starts on a I think it starts from 6 o'clock in the evening through to about 8 o'clock in the morning, just to answer the calls, to listen to people when they ring up. There are all sorts of supports in place for the person who does the suicide intervention officer role. We have a counsellor on standby, you will have a mentor. You're not going to be stranded at 2 o'clock in the morning with somebody on the phone who's absolutely in crisis and you won't know what to do. There will always be help available to you. Do you want to go on to the next slide? Fundraising, you know, as Peter and Paul have both said, fundraising is actually what keeps us going, what makes keeps our doors open and the phone lines ringing. We're always happy to hear from people who want to come involved in fundraising that we do inside, or to do a fundraiser on our behalf. We have some really exciting stuff coming up next year for fundraising. So if anybody is interested at all, the contact information. And just to know then that your fundraising goes to directly keeping the services going. Next slide, please. We also have what we're calling micro-volunteering, where really this is just, you know, if you're available, but you don't want to be always available or always involved in the organisation. So say, for example, we were doing a bag pack when it all comes back to normal, hopefully in Dunn's or Tesco's locally, that you could come and give us a couple of hours and help people pack their shopping, you know, so that we can get a donation from that. Or we recently had some lovely events around the country for World Suicide Prevention Day, and you know, we got some people came and volunteered from Loud Volunteers on the day in both Dundalk and Drogheda, and the people who came to the Drogheda, because I happened to be at that one, were just super. We had a great day. It was really enlightening, and it was such a lovely day for people to be involved in. We were in the Augustinian Memorial Garden, and we were painting stones so people could place a memorial for people who'd passed away. You know, so it was a really nice day. So if you just have a couple of hours occasionally, if you want to pass on your information to us, we'd be very grateful through the Loud Volunteers for you to be involved in anything we have planned in the future. I think that's basically all I have to say. I hope I haven't given you too much information and made you scared, but you know, we are always available if you want to contact the Loud Volunteers and then speak to us through that, and then we can see where you would like to fit in. Thank you very much this morning for your time.